And welcome to Down the Alley. This is PMAC.
And Ted T.S. Spirides.
And another week, another episode. Um, Interested to see where this one goes. We've got an interesting guest I think people will like. Coming on a little bit later. Katie out, JP maybe in. I guess we'll see. I don't know. Hope
This
not to get I don't want to get the people too lubed up and maybe he doesn't come on, but that's the rumor at least.
It's a skeleton crew tonight. Katie on IR for the night. Might even be like a non-injury related absence. Uh,
Non-COVID though. I can confirm it's a non-COVID,
non-COVID. So
non-COVID illness.
not, not with us. And then JP, he might be coming in hot. He's a game time decision that we'll update you as we get closer to interview
Is he
time.
still in Italy or Aruba or wherever the hell he's been?
I think he is finally back. Jet lag is over. He's back to
He's stateside.
yeah, he's stateside. So we'll see what happens tonight. And if we get any of our starters back mid show.
You never know. You never know with this show. What's going to be talked about, what's going to be brought up. You know what event we're going to try to put on. Things are always behind the scenes. I can confirm things are interesting. I don't know
Yep.
where things are going to go, but I'll leave it at that. Lacrosse wise, any or non lacrosse wise, you get any rants about lacrosse or not lacrosse?
Um no rants. I got a couple things. So I have the first one. I'll start with the positive, I guess. Or they're not really positive, negative, but the first one definitely is positive. Lots of MN verbal commits, the MN high school players in the last week. It's been like an absolute rapid fire of the 24 class, some in the 24 class, and a lot of 25s
Yeah.
committing big time commits, Division 1 commits, Division 2 commits. So congratulations to all the players that have kind of made their decision on kind of what they're going to do after high school. I think this 24 and 25 group, boys and girls, will represent Minnesota very well at the next level, and it's obviously fun to see a lot of players from our state going on and playing big time lacrosse, all across the country.
Yeah, I've seen commitments at every level, D3, NAIA to D1. So that's cool to see.
Yep.
Different schools across the country. That's cool to see.
A lot of variety too. Like it,
Yeah,
it hasn't been, in years past, I feel like it feels like four kids all go to one place. It's kind of like coach just recruited the whole squad kind of thing. Like, all right, hey, if I can bring them all, maybe they'll all stay. But this year, I agree with you. It feels like we got some small D1s, we got some big D1s, we got some established D2, some new D2. We got NAI, we got D3, we got big school, we got small school, engineering, liberal arts. It's like it kind of feels like maybe that the idea of like just everybody kind of going and just taking the first offer that they get. There's a little bit more education around the recruiting process and kind of finding your fit and not being as concerned about taking the first offer.
yeah. I think 10 years ago, I think 20 kids committed to Air Force. So it's cool to see the diversity and
Yeah.
and people going to different places. There's some cool places that I've seen come across the docket. So
Yeah,
um
a couple guys are going to St. Joe's. I thought
yeah,
that was kind of cool because they're kind of an up and coming program, and I don't traditionally remember a lot of Minnesota kids going there. Um, and I don't even like until 2 years ago, and that when they like had their coming out party in the NCAA tournament, when everybody like became a St. Joe's fan,
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
vibe, right? Um, I don't remember a lot of kids going there for Minnesota. I mean, I could be wrong. It could have been somebody who did. But that was cool. That's like a new one that popped up when we talk about variety.
Yeah, no, that's totally cool. You had another topic?
Yeah. I was talking to you about this. I saw this is a Twitter thing. So I saw like some people at inside lacrosse were like trying to bury. They were really upset about another account. I couldn't quite follow it, but there was a public lacrosse publication that was charging money for people to get exposure through his or her, I don't know if it was a man or a woman, their social media accounts. So like they were charging like $800 and they would get X amount of shout out posts, like a profile on the website. And it was definitely classic negative Twitter. And I don't know, um it was interesting to see kind of all the vitriol on that. And it's like just like anything else, like people charge $800 to go to a showcase or sports recruits, no free ads, but they charge a fee to have a profile. Like I didn't think it was any different than that, but it was very targeted of like this guy or gal. I don't again, but I think it was a guy because they kept saying guy like what like was the root of all evil for doing this. And I was just like, whoa, like what does Inside Lacrosse do? They charge money to publish the people that come to their event. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. It's just kind of classic Twitter, right? Classic lacrosse Twitter.
Yeah, and we talked about it. Is it something we would personally do? Maybe not. But right there's a free market out there, and if you put it out there and it sells, like kind of more power to you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I agree. It's kind of like if you don't like it, don't do it. And if someone has the means to spend 700-800 bucks and wants to put their name out there, then like again, what difference does it make?
Yeah, more power to them. Well, we've let our guest in. I had a couple different requests. I don't know if you were using the gal's cell phone or what, but I think we've got the right person in now. Special guest tonight, Coach. Hopefully I don't just absolutely botch this, but I'm gonna give it my best go. Mikey Zadroga.
Close enough.
Close
Zadroga.
enough. Close
Zadroga, there
enough.
we go.
New head
Yeah.
coach of Lawrence University. Brand new program. Welcome to the podcast. Welcome to Down the Alley.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah, I was trying to get on my fiance's computer there, so didn't know she was logged into Zoom.
I know that's all good. It's funny.
Yeah.
I was like, who's this person? I assumed it was you. There's not many
Yeah.
people, that has the link, but no, that was funny. How are things? How are things with you? How's your fall going? Before we kind of jump into it.
Yeah, I mean it's been really busy. It's been like a whirlwind trying to just, get comfortable here and get guys on campus, and feels like every day is something different, which is awesome. But I think the most exciting thing, we just did a youth clinic on Sunday. So it was nice to coach again and, get some of the young guys that are in the area out for to see like Lawrence as young pups. So it was good.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
How's everything
Obviously,
been in Minnesota?
yeah, no, things are good. It was a hot late summer, late part of summer, super hot here. So this weather, more my vibe. I'm not built for the South. There's a reason I don't live in Texas. So this time of the year, weather wise, lifestyle wise too, it's not a crazy coaching time. I'm loving life. I am loving life right now. But for you moving back here, obviously, we'll probably talk more about it, but you went to school in the Midwest, went to school at
Mhm.
Marquette. Where are you coming from? Where did you grow up? How's the transition been to now your new town?
Yeah, I think the craziest thing growing up was like we're right outside of Philadelphia. King of Prussia is the town, so no offense to all the Minnesota people, but we do have the biggest mall. So just had to drop that one real quick. So the
Is that
King
a
of Prussia
fact?
Mall,
I'm not gonna fight
King
you
of
on it because
Prussia,
I don't know, but is that a fact?
King of Prussia Mall is the biggest one.
We're gonna have to
So
check that. We're heading to Philly this summer. Where is it? Downingtown or something like that. One of the NXT tournaments. So we're gonna have
Probably
to,
Downingtown, yeah.
yeah, we have to fact check, but I'll take your word for it. I grew up in Bloomington, where the Mall of America is, so
Okay.
there's a personal. This is personal now.
Yeah, we're getting after it. It's like Dion says, it's personal.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, so huge mall, but like I think the craziest thing is our town was right around all like really big hotbeds. So Lower Merion, Conestoga, Downingtown, Springfield, Delco. But we were really new to lacrosse, so growing up, I played on a third year high school program. And then it was really cool to like see that build, be one of I think I was the third guy to go Division 1 in our program, really start up. My parents didn't play lacrosse. And it was just super new. And then have the opportunity to come out to Marquette to play, and I think I was saying like the funniest thing was we had cousins from Oshkosh, which now being in Appleton, it's like 20 minutes away. And we used to say like, oh, you're from Fargo, talking about your accent and everything. And then next thing you know, Coach Brundage goes to one of my high school games and I find myself in Milwaukee, and I didn't even know where Marquette was. Obviously I knew because of basketball. But like it just was unbelievable. And then, going from Upper Marion to Marquette, and that was back in the day. I don't know if PMAC, if you guys played, but Champ Camp was the biggest tournament, so now it's like there's 17 different things. It used to just be Champ Camp. So that was like our big club one. So going from that, going to college, getting done at Marquette in 2019 and having kind of an up and down career with injuries, really just like started to get into coaching then. So I tried to join the Army, which I did join. I got injured again, got booted out from an injury, and then got right into coaching. So took the entry into the high school game, got my master's while I was doing it, and then I had a successful year at Owen J. Roberts, out there in like Chester Springs, right next to Downingtown, where you guys will be. Ended up at Canisius for a little bit. So I had an opportunity to coach at Canisius, which, we just got two assistant coaches, one from Minnesota, and then one from Canisius. He played, and then he's in Appleton. And then I went from there, head coaching opportunity, Davis and Elkins, out in like a small town, Elkins, West Virginia. There's about, I want to say 2,500 people in the town. So a very small mountain town. And then the Lawrence opportunity popped up, and, I just thought it would kind of be a no brainer just to go back to a place where I fell in love with. I have family, and the school kind of sells itself. It's a really good academic school. There's a lot of financial support with our program, and they want us to be good. So yeah, that's kind of like how I got there, and kind of growing up might be even be a Minnesota story, like playing baseball and then playing lacrosse at the same time, and then shifting over to lacrosse. So I didn't grow up with the stick in my hand. It was kind of just like something new.
Right on. No, yeah, no. Thanks for sharing your story. Usually, you got to pull it out of people, but you jumped right into it. You've had a quick, I'll call it a quick rise. Just kind of reviewing, what I read online, and even just hearing you talk about it. Usually people are an assistant for a while and working. You jumped, into a head coaching spot. I'll say pretty quick. What was that transition like, and did pieces just fall into place for you, coming out of Canisius? What was that like for you?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, and I think this is something that I might not have really known because, when you're not like, maybe people don't know enough about what the coaching world's like, it's hard to coach lacrosse. It just really, like we see basketball, we see football, we see these big money contracts. Like it's not like that in lacrosse. And I come from like a construction background. So it was either you get your degree or you go do union construction, right? So for me, it was like, okay, if I want to coach, I need it to be where I can support myself and then eventually have a family. So the Canisius thing was an opportunity to get into the game. I am forever grateful to Coach Marks, Coach Miyashita. But then quickly kind of realized, wait, I'm not making enough money to really stay in it. So the head coaching thing kind of just came because I was looking for an opportunity to have a little more financial support because, as young guys don't know it yet, but once you're out of college, that's a big thing is if you're financially supported, you can be a little healthier in the mind. And that was like the biggest thing for me. It was like I believed in myself because I really think, what I did in the high school game, we treated it like a college. I had 18 guys, 18 seniors. They didn't have a great year the year before I took the program over. but they were all very, very high level players. I think 12 or 13 of them went and played college lacrosse. One of them's at Manhattan right now, and he's going to have a pretty good sophomore year. So for me, I knew, hey, we can treat this like a college program. We can get after it. We can do a lot of culture. We can do culture meetings, mental meetings. And then I just figured, you know what? What's the difference? And why not take a chance on becoming a head coach? And the biggest confidence boost was Coach Amplo. I had dinner with him at the IMLCA convention, and he was like, "Hey, don't be scared of the opportunity. If you fail, you still get to say that you have experience as a head coach running a program." And it kind of gave me the boost to do that. And then, I think seeing what we did at Davis and Elkins, yeah, the win column wasn't huge, but we really changed the culture. We brought in about 18 guys to make them have like their first 40-man roster, like this fall, checking it out, and they've had their first full field scrimmage in program history. It kind of just gave me more confidence to say, hey, I can do this, and I can do this at a bigger scale. And I kind of wanted the challenge to create my own culture, and that's really what led me here. But I think that's probably the biggest thing. It was like just kind of betting on yourself, knowing like, hey, yeah, you're not going to know everything, but as long as you know that and you can continue. And for me, I annoy Coach Amplo, I annoy Coach Brundage and Jake Richard. Like those guys have done more. They've been in the game longer, so why not pick their brains, And that's just something that I've tried to continue to do. Is like, hey, I'm a head coach. I'm young. I'm going to use my age to an advantage and not to a disadvantage, and I'm just going to continue to learn from other people, which is going to be helpful.
Yeah, it's actually interesting that you're telling that story. You were at Marquette, right? That like kind of when Ampo took it over, like around that time, and like
Mm.
what he was able to do with Marquette what most people would say in a pretty quick turnaround to be like very relevant in a really solid program. That must have been a nice kind of learning experience to look back on to see like, oh, like I got to be a part of watching somebody else do it. And obviously he did amazing things, moved on to another opportunity, but that's pretty cool that you got to be part of that Marquette build.
Yeah, that's honestly what I'm using a lot, to give me that confidence and that comfortability of like, hey, yeah, it's not Division 1, right? It's Division 3, but it can be done, and I think that's where I'm doing the same thing with like culture is going to be our foundation. Like we're going to win with our culture. We're going to win with the biggest term I use when we talk to like recruits and stuff is like, we're not going to be afraid to say that we love one another and we love the process that we have. And we're going to be a team where you stop all of us on the street, whether it's coaches, our athletic director, guys on the team, even families, and they're like, hey, give us one word about your program, and it's going to be love, because that's what we want to embody. That's what we want people to feel. And that's what we had at Marquette. That was honestly the biggest thing. And that's from Coach Amplo. Like he wanted us to have that, like when it gets tough, we're going to grab each other up and we're going to get after it. When we're down to Denver in the Big East championship by a couple goals, we're going to come back out because we love each other so much that we want more time. And that was like our big calling card. Even the year after where we went into the Big East tournament, I think 500, and then we won it. No one expected us to win it. And we literally just continued to say like, hey, we want more time. We want more time with each other more than the other team wants more time with one another. And kind of like overachieving, and that's the biggest thing. And that's what we want to do at Lawrence, right? Like we want to be nationally known as a program. So that's, a huge goal to set, and I'm not afraid to say it. So we have to overachieve, and we really think we're going to do that with the culture.
You mentioned, coaching lacrosse isn't coaching football and basketball and in a financial regard, but as you look at any sport, coaching, it's not all X's and O's. You're a newer coach, but you've already done so much. So I'm just trying to, before we talk, do a deep dive on Lawrence, I just want to kind of nibble your brain and, for other young coaches out there, what is kind of the day in the life for, what's it like being a young college head coach? I'm sure you're just taking it in, just the fire hose, right? Like you're swimming upstream. What have you noticed and already have done in your career so far?
I mean, I think it's being unafraid to kind of be like, hey, I don't know the answer to this question, and if you're able to do that, I think you can figure things out quicker, because there are other people out there, whatever school it may be, like for example, being at Lawrence, it's a Division III school. I've only been at Division I, Division II, even playing wise. So now there's no athletic scholarship. So it's kind of like I don't have as much control over the financials as I used to. And understanding like, okay, how do I navigate that? Who can I talk to that's been at a school where they don't have rolling admissions, right? So who does financial pre-reads, right? So I pick up the phone, I call Colorado College, Coach Horowitz, and he tells me how his program does it. I call our director of financial aid, and now we have a system in place so I can get financial pre-reads. It's like if I would have been like, oh, I can figure this out on my own, I might not have figured it out till March. So I think it's like being unafraid to do that has really helped me. Not being just pick up the phone and call people. Like I used to think, oh, I'm going to be annoying, but I think coaches love to talk about what they do successfully. I'm going to listen. I love to talk too, but I can sit there and listen on the phone and gain a lot of perspective. And then I think the other thing is like using your age to your advantage. Like I have a lot of energy probably because I'm young. Hopefully I have this when I'm 40, 50, but I can text guys differently. I can engage with them differently. I still know what music they listen to. I'm not on TikTok, but I know they do that stuff, right? So like I can connect with them in those ways, and try to really be a relationship guy. And then I think the other thing is just like I know the experience of being in college lacrosse, because it's so new, but it's still very similar. The only difference is like now it's the post-COVID years. So it's like a little bit different, right? With different stuff that they went through then that I didn't go through at their age. So it's kind of doing that. It's being able to continue to connect with them. And then I think, the last thing is like, for me, the other thing is, yeah, you have to set boundaries. Like I don't do recruiting calls or text after 8 o'clock at night, because I know I need a boundary or else I'm going to just burn myself out. Um, and then I'm trying to set more, as my fiance wants me to definitely have more, trying to set more, but it's a little bit hard because you think you can do everything at once and you can't, you know, you can't be everywhere at once. Um, and then, I think the other biggest thing that people might not think of is make connections in your area. So like we have a river, we have the Fox River that splits our campus. So I try not to just stay on the athletic side of campus. Like when we have a visit, I'll go to the admissions office for 20, 30 minutes early and just try to meet everyone and talk to everyone because everyone's going to help you, and I think when we have that community, it's a lot better. So go there because, hey, there might be a question that even the other coaches who've been there for 14 years don't know, but the person in admissions is going to know, or career center or internships or study abroad or, we have a Japanese foreign exchange student, international stuff. So, yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. And also, I mean, you can't get it all done, right? So just having your daily checklist of like, I can do these things, I can do these things. This is when I reach out to kids. This is when I call Epic or Warrior or STX and try to get sponsorship deals, dialing it all in step by step.
No, that's awesome. I think that's, very valuable information. And I think any coach can take at least 1 point away from that. One thing that, we've noticed through the podcast, through the coaches summit, like all these coaches are willing to share like you talk. Everyone wants to just do this, right? Like just get some coaches together, talk,
Yeah.
eat some barbecue, whatever it might be. So that's been something that we've noticed too, is this is our way of breaking the barrier of like, oh, like our coach is going to want to talk with us. Yeah, everyone wants to talk. So this is kind of our way of doing that. So it's a good point. But yeah, no, I want to open up the floor for you. Obviously, like this is a great opportunity for you to kind of introduce Lawrence University to kind of Minnesota. And anyone else who is you can share this as much as you want to recruits and whatever. What is Lawrence University? Who are the types of players you're looking for, and and all that good stuff. Take the floor.
Yeah. So Lawrence University, I know there's kind of like, there's been Minnesota families who've come on campus who know what our school is. And then there's been, Wisconsin families who are 20 minutes down the road who've never heard of it. Right. So Lawrence University is a small liberal arts college, about 1,500 students. we are a university because we also have a conservatory, right? So we have about 25% who do athletics, and we're, with lacrosse, with football continuing to grow and other sports, it's probably going to go up to 30%. And then we have about 20% that do the conservatory. And through the conservatory, they're essentially world-class athletes. They just play music. So I think it's another really cool piece as well that some people can look at it as a negative. But like my uncle's in a metal band called a Sayer, and he was telling me something, and I was like, yeah, this is the same thing. Like when you play music at that high of a level, you're playing it to be perfect so no one notices you. Where in lacrosse, a lot of the times if you're on offense, you score a goal so everyone knows who you are. So it's being able to take that away and being like, hey, and this is something I look for, like guys who are selfless, like it's about the team and like the people that you can rub elbows with that are musicians that are going to go play in London and the Philadelphia Symphony, who's in town actually this weekend. Like they're doing something to be perfect so no one knows their name. And it's super cool. Like their attention to detail, their discipline. So those are two components of us. And then we're a school for students that want to be, liberal arts majors, right? So big with health sciences, big with psychology, government, business is a brand new major. People who want to think differently, who want to be well-rounded, have a worldly view, challenge themselves academically. We are a rigorous school. So, when we're looking at recruits, obviously talent, everyone's looking at talent. Who's the best player? The next thing is, all right, what are your academics? Are you kind of like that 3-4 and above with AP honors classes? Do you want to challenge? Because if you don't like school, while we are trimesters, we're only 3 classes each trimester, you're not going to love being at Lawrence because school is going to be hard, right? But for me, I look at that as like a beautiful thing because Mike, like I really like following coaches, and Mike Tomlin is great with this. The standard's the standard. Well, so at Lawrence, academically, we want to be excellent. There's one standard. We want to be excellent on the field. There's one standard. We want to be excellent as young men. There's one standard. So it's really nice that, hey, if you want to be excellent, the standards don't change at our university. They're all going to be, at the highest level. And then some of the other things like about our university are 50% study abroad. So I'm a big proponent of that. Like, if we're playing Division III athletics, we should have some balance. You're not just a lacrosse player. You're a young man. So you want to go study abroad for a fall semester, go ahead. We have a London campus, go do that. You just got to bring coach back something with you, from your travels. But that's a really cool thing that they can do. And then the third one is we have a third campus called Bjork London, which is up in Door County, which we'll do that every year as a team. We'll do like a 3-day weekend, but guys can do seminars. So we have a recruit who's like a creative rights interest. There's a bunch of creative rights seminars up there. We have marine biology. They do some things up there on the weekends, right up in the lake. So there's a lot of cool opportunities there. And then I think finally the biggest thing that really makes Lawrence a special place, and especially for me, is it's a community. It really is a community. Like the city of Appleton is like that. Like tonight I went to Hop Yard. I ran into Henry Ellenson, who I went to Marquette with. First round pick, Detroit. I ran into I'm going to forget his name on the podcast, but he was in dental school when I was there. So we used to go to the rec center every once in a while together. Connor Zilich, who's my assistant, he knows like everyone in the area. Now that we did a youth clinic, people are reaching out and being very friendly. So like it's very community based. And then the biggest thing to show that as well with our athletic staff is I was gone. My little brother had a wedding. He got married on the 9th of September. So on the 10th, I'm still in Philly. We have a kid from LA come out to do a visit, and our men's hockey coach takes 5 hours out of his Sunday to take him on a tour him, campus, lunch, athletic tour. And it's like, that's what separates us as a university. Like it's very different. People are very supportive. It's not just like, oh yeah, we're supportive, we like each other. It's like, we're going to go out of our way to make you guys feel comfortable. And it's just a very special place in that way, so I think they're going to get the community. And then if we want to talk about like fun stuff, like facilities, our weight room's getting a facelift. We have new power racks, a new turf, dumbbells and bumper plates will be here by the time guys are on campus. We have a beautiful stadium called the Bonta Bowl. So it holds 3,600 people. And right next door to it is a new locker room that'll be finished like October 20th timeframe, October 20th to like October 31st. It'll be completely done. So new locker room with 42 wooden lockers. And then we have our own practice facility, right? So it's a grass field, but it's a beautiful grass field. No one uses it. So in the fall, it's just lacrosse, so just men's and women's lacrosse. We don't have to compete with anyone for time. And with that said too, we get to go every day 5 to 7. So 5 to 7's practice because 8:30 to 4:20 is school. So if you only have one class on a Tuesday and it's from 9:30 to 11, well, you're done for the day. You don't have class anymore, right? So um, it's a really cool thing. Like, hey, you only have 3 classes. You can really dive into them. Um, you know, and I don't think I forgot anything else. I mean, I think like some other things, other small schools, we have small class sizes. We don't have any TAs. It's all professors. Um, so those are some of the big things just as a general of like who we are as a university.
Ted, I saw you unmuted. I'm gonna guess something about the music. If I had to guess, you got some music going on, a couple of guitars back there. If I just had to guess, I don't know.
Yeah, a couple things. First of all, it sounds like a lot of infrastructure being invested into infrastructure and facilities, which is obviously PMAC and I and JP, who just joined, who's part of our crew here. Uh, we all have coached at the Division 3 level, and not having facilities is a real issue slash problem for a lot of schools. So the fact that you have a field that you can use, you could have a consistent practice time, their support, that's huge. And that makes that whole experience of being an athlete at your school a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I did have something with the music, the way you talked about that and how you're integrating it. I heard something the other day, someone talking about playing guitar in a band. They said your job is not to make sure everybody knows that you play guitar. It's to fill a spot, to fill a spot in the total sound. And I was thinking about the same thing with lacrosse being like when we say, hey, we want team offense, team defense, your job is to trust that the guy next to you is going to do his job. And I have to fill a spot in that particular moment. So that's cool that you thought of it that way. And then the third thing, when you talked about Door County, the Door County apple crisp in the frozen section at the supermarket is unbelievable. I have no clue if it's made actually in Door County, but if it is, we're going to Lawrence for a game, and then we're going to Door County for their other campus to get more apple crisp because it's fall. Those are my 3 things. Not to like derail like an unbelievable breakdown of your.
No, I'm gonna have to look those up. I'm gonna have to try those. I'll see if they have them. We were planning a trip to go to Sturgeon Bay, so I'll have to see if they're up there.
I
I'll have
trust
to
Ted.
ship some out.
Anything with
Yeah.
food, Ted's. I'm a harsh critic too, so Ted's high on the list of people I trust. In that department. You mentioned you slightly mentioned your staff. I kind of want to do a deeper dive because it sounds like you brought over a couple of studs. There's one in our Discord that I've chatted to a little bit. I don't know him really at all, to be honest with you, but I've coached against him. So
Mhm.
yeah, would love to hear about who's by your side on launching this new program.
Yeah. So, and I actually did forget one thing I was going to say with infrastructure. We have 3 new downtown apartments that are being built. All right, because we are a residential school, so that is something important. But 3 new downtown apartments, which downtown Appleton is literally you walk out of the campus, you're right downtown.
Do
So,
freshmen get to live in these apartments?
no, they'll be junior, seniors, and then for like our 22-year-old hockey freshmen, they might get to live in those
I was
apartments.
gonna say if freshmen
Yeah,
get to live in this place, you should.
no, no.
I lived in a place called Scheipel. And you might as well just call it shithole because it was they should just burn that place down. But yeah,
You guys had fun at Detroit, you know?
oh, we had a great time. We had
Yeah.
we had as we took full advantage of the situation we had. It's not a very sexy place, but we had a good time. We had a good time, and Coach Colin, absolute beauty.
Yeah, he is. He is. But yeah, I mean, about the staff and everything. So we have Connor Zilich, who I coached him at Canisius. He was a D midi when I was there. And the cool thing about him is he's from Appleton. So he's from Appleton United High School. actually started like Lacrosse America, like that team, the first ever team in the area. So that's pretty cool. And then he actually was a hockey guy. So he played hockey. He was a lacrosse All-American as a junior. Decided he wanted to go play hockey, so he did a couple years in the juniors. And then he played 2 years of hockey at Canisius, and then for his third year, he played lacrosse. So he graduated in three as like a 24-year-old. So we called him Grandpa last year because he was the old guy. So he was great though, and I think like he really embodies like what we want as a culture. Like he's like a gold standard of a young man. Like even at Canisius, like I was there the third day on campus, and I went in and told the other coaches, I was like, he's literally driving freshmen to and from their dorms right now because it's pouring down raining, and he doesn't want them to walk. He's the only one. I was like, and he's brand new to the team. Like that's awesome. Like we should like promote that. Like he's the man. And he works his ass off. Like he just randomly, his sister plays hockey at Bemidji State, and they just like randomly one day were like, hey, let's go do a half marathon. So like he's a guy like that too. He just like will, he'll work hard. He'll be a good leader. He's also assistant with the hockey team, so he's volunteering with the hockey team as well. So he's getting both his fixes in. And he's going to be an offensive assistant. So we're going to spend all year really breaking down the offense that we want to run, the principles, how we want to teach it, how we want to build it out, and kind of dial that in. And then our defensive assistant is a Shakopee guy. So he was at Shakopee for, I think, the last 3 years. Got them into one goal away from the state championship this year with Coach Pollock. But his name's Matthew Puskarich. I might be mispronouncing his last name. He'll get it on me for that. But he just joined us and got cleared today. So he'll be our defensive assistant. He's been in Minnesota, I believe, like 14 years as a defensive assistant. So he's bounced around a little bit, but he's just another guy that's like, talking to a couple of the Shakopee guys, like their families, they raved about him. They said players coach, really big with relationships, really understands us. And when I talk to him, it's like just another person that culturally I don't have to worry about. He speaks the same language. He's going to look for the same type of kids. He's going to treat them the same way. I know he's not going to grab a kid by his face mask, and I'm gonna have to like run over there and like be like, hey, you got to get out of here. So, he's going to just be another great person for that. So I couldn't have found two better fits, and it really just worked out. Like Connor being from Appleton, and then Matthew moving to Appleton because his wife's from here. So kind of just like all was clicking in place, which was nice.
I guess we should buy some Appleton stock. Jeez Louise, I don't know what's going on there. Another topic you've touched on, and this is something it sounds like you're learning. You've been at the D1 level, you've been at the D2 level. What's recruiting look like? Specifically for D3 and kind of your process. Everyone's process is coach to coach is different, and literally and player to player too. But what's your goal during the recruiting process, and what does that kind of look like for Lawrence?
Yeah. So this summer, it was a big recruiting summer with like making sure I see enough guys, and you can never see enough. There's always gonna, I was talking to my buddy who's coaching out for advance out in San Francisco, and he was like, isn't it unbelievable like how good players are nowadays? And it's crazy. You can't see enough guys. Like there's good guys in Idaho, there's good guys in Fargo, North Dakota now, like they're all over.
It's crazy.
But for me, like from June 9th till the end of the summer, I was on the road trying to recruit and set up phone calls and set up visits. So for me, it's usually go see a guy in person. I do trust highlight films. I'll watch the highlight film, reach out via email or over the phone. Kids don't really answer their email anymore, which is crazy. So got to follow up with a text message. But it's really simple. It's really getting to know them. And then once we kind of get to know each other, break the ice a little bit, then I want to get into the business talk of, hey, what's your GPA? What are you looking for distance wise, major wise? Have you thought of like a number for what school could cost and what's too high, right? Because like financially, our sticker price is high. I believe we're like 67,000, right? So we're a very high price school, but you're not going to pay that. It's just like going to buy a car, so there's merit money, there's grant money, there's need-based aid. So if a guy's from Wisconsin or Illinois, we meet that 100% with the need-based aid. If a guy's from a different state, we're like 80, 90%. So it's just trying to see what their level of comfort is and can we get there as I'm learning. And then if it's close where they're going to tell me like 12 to 15, I know we're probably not in the ballpark, but I'll still let them do like a net price calculator, you know? So it's really having that first conversation, seeing if they're still interested. And what I actually did to even kind of get that first conversation a little bit better is I made a virtual visit that I send them. So they have a whole little outline. They can click on different links, Fox cities, about our school, about our program, see our facilities, and then have that talk. If that goes well and they want to continue it, we'll get the net price out. If the net price looks good, getting them out to campus. So that's kind of how our process works. From that, it's really the biggest thing for me is not, hey, I need you to come here. I need you to make a decision within X amount of time. It's, do you love this place? When you stepped on campus, did you feel like, hey, this is home? Because I think that's what it was for me. I stepped on campus at Marquette. I loved Coach Brundage at the time. I met Coach Amplo and I left it like, I'm going there. And I didn't commit right away. I didn't commit till I visited in June. I committed in November. But I was like, that's where I'm going. I'll still see other schools, but as soon as he tells me what he's going to offer me, I'm saying yes. And that's what I want guys to feel. So we've gotten some guys that have committed recently, and it's kind of been that, which feels nice. Like they walked away and they loved what we were going to build, what our vision was, and they loved what our university felt like to them. So that's it. And then as we're looking at guys, like we want the highest talent possible. I went to an event this year and a different coach was like, hey, why are you going there? I was like, what do you mean? These are it's the best kids right now this weekend. I want the best kids. So we want the highest talent. I'm not afraid to hear no. I want guys who are looking at D1s, who are looking at NESCACs, and, we want to get them. We want to be a national power. So we want guys who can play. But I would say even secondary to that is guys who want to be at Lawrence, but want to work hard, like aren't afraid. And I don't have to continue to stay on them like, hey, go hit the wall, go hit the wall, go hit the wall. They're the ones who are leading their players, to that, right? Like they're in the phone and when the message pops up, it's like always, hey, extra work, extra shooting. Like that's the guy, so getting guys that are bought into that is something that I really am looking for. Guys who want the challenge, want to build something, leave a legacy, so you're starting the program and it's also their program. It's not just mine. Like the players are invested in it as well.
I'm curious from a recruiting standpoint, are you looking at anybody out of the 2024 class? Obviously, you guys are starting games in 2025, but how does it look for a guy that maybe starting his freshman year at Lawrence a year early, and what his path would look like maybe for that first year before practice and games actually starts?
Yeah, so this year actually would be that. So if I would have recruited 23s, the 24s will start the program. Yeah, so the 24s will start.
Backwards. Yep.
Yeah, no. So honestly, I tried. There was a couple Cabrini guys who I coached in high school who I didn't think they would want to leave the Philly area. They're very like mama's boys homebodies. But if they would have come to Lawrence, basically what we would have done is a lot of leadership training and then as much lacrosse as they wanted. So that really would have been the biggest thing. And we currently have a kid from Waseda University, which is in Japan. And he's an exchange student. And because we don't have a team and he's only here for 1 year, I'm going to email him back tomorrow and try to set up times where we can just do personal training essentially. Like I'll train him. I can shadow dodge him because he's not technically an NCAA player, so I can play lacrosse on him. And that's what it would have been this year. Next year, it's going to be full go. Like we want 30 plus guys. We'll take guys from hockey, we'll take guys from football, but we want a big freshman class and we're going to get after it. I just was talking to Coach Gosen, and I don't know this like breaking news, but we're going to find a way to get out to University of Minnesota next fall and play a game, and they can play. And I want Minnesota guys. Like if I have 30 freshmen, I want 15 to be from Minnesota. Like that's a big thing for me. So getting them back home would be also really cool. And then we can compete probably in where rugby plays in that bubble there. So yeah, we'll go full tilt next year. But yeah, this year would have just been like a lot of like training, like individual training.
Got it. And it sounds like you've talked to some of those hockey football guys. What's the kind of like internal buzz from Lawrence been about the program? Are you getting a lot of guys with interest wanting to come out and play as upperclassmen, or just walking the hall, seeing if anybody wants to strap a helmet on for old time's sake kind of deal?
Yeah, we have an email going out next week. So our freshman dean her son actually was just at our youth clinic, so she loves lacrosse. So she's going to send an email out to all of our freshmen to see if they want to play. But as I'm walking around, I try to just like say random things to guys, like especially the football guys, smack them on their pads a little bit. And we do have a football player. His name's Nate Booth, who played lacrosse in high school. So he went to Cardinal Gibbons out in North Carolina, and he's gonna play next year. So this April, I'm gonna try to do like a spring camp. So any people who are at Lawrence right now who will be back next year that want to put the helmets on, gloves, pad up, get after it a little bit, we're gonna have like a little spring training camp in April, because there are some football guys who like don't know what lacrosse is, and they're like, "Oh wait, coach, we have to run up and down." I'm like, "Yeah, we got to run back and forth. It's not just a 3 second you hit and you're done." So exposing them to the game, but then there's some hockey players who can play. Watching some of their highlight tapes, like they can play. They just spent the last couple of years playing junior hockey instead. So yeah, I mean it's gonna be cool. I'm excited for that. And then there might be like a random student who's just at Lawrence for academics that played lacrosse, and maybe he's a neuroscience major and we have a really good neuroscience program, so he went there and now he has an opportunity to play. So I might be able to find someone like that too.
Is that like it feels like as a college lacrosse coach, it's like the rite of passage. You got to pick up some hallway guys. Even if you have an amazing recruiting class comes in, but if you have a football team, that's huge because that's
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big roster. But sometimes, I mean, those guys, like, those are the great stories, like an athlete or played a little bit in high school, went a different path, find them in the hallway, end up being a, role player for you or whatever. So like, those are cool stories.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you're like a lacrosse historian at all, and you look at Hobart in the '90s when they won all those D3 championships, most of their D poles were all football guys. Like Frank Federaca, the Bucknell head coach, he came into Hobart. He played football and baseball, and then he quit baseball his freshman year and put a long stick in his hand, became an All-American. So like, there's linebackers, wide receivers. I'll take them. It's all good footwork.
How much, I guess, will the transfer portal play a part in your recruiting year one and moving forward? Obviously, it's been a thing, but it's more of a thing now than ever. What do you anticipate that being a part of your recruiting efforts?
Yeah, so I think with the way our university's set up, I really want to be like a homegrown team. I don't necessarily want to look in the portal, but for year one to have some older guys, whether it's in like a crucial role of like a Fogo, or a guy who can just put the ball in the back of the net, or you have a dangerous LSM or a lockdown guy on the D end. I'm gonna look for some of those guys, but they have to come. And I think the challenging part is they have to come from schools where they're academically challenged, right? So like they're challenged in the classroom 24/7. So maybe it's a guy from Wisconsin, Ohio, Illinois, Minnesota, Michigan that like went to a Trinity, a Bates, a NESCAC school, a Denison, somewhere like that, where they were kind of buried on the depth chart, but they still want that high academic experience and they want to have a huge impact. Like a guy like that can come in, and fill a leadership role and fill a role in the field. So looking at some guys from those areas, I think is going to be big. And then I'm also really, crossing my fingers. One of my favorite players from O&J, he didn't go to Stevenson. He decided to go to Utah as a student. He's going to transfer from Utah, and since he's on the NCAA, I can talk about it. I'm really hoping to get him over to Lawrence. I know his mom would be a fan, because we're a really good academic school. So I'm gonna keep calling him all year and try to get him over to Lawrence because he fits my culture. He was our captain. He was our gold standard guy, and someone like that would be awesome.
Had JP any other questions about Lawrence or anything?
What's been like? So I know you guys are going to be in the or playing. I assume like the Beloits and I think it was Lake Forest and stuff like that. So what's like been the welcome reception been for other college lacrosse coaches in the Midwest D3 area? Has it been kind of welcome with open arms, or is the rivalry starting already, or what's that been like?
I think internally, I've started the rivalry in my own head, just to keep myself, competitive. But I've actually known some of the guys for a little bit. So like, I've become good buddies the last couple of years with Coach Casey Burst at Dubuque. I actually almost took his GA job in 2020, I think it was. I looked at taking that job and coming out here, but decided against it. And then Coach Fahey and I have been good buddies, and he's down at Concordia, Wisconsin. And then there's been other guys, like Coach Mayberry at Aurora. We just talked today about some things. Coach Farrell at NCC has been open. Coach St. Laurent's obviously been busy with the PLL, but he's been very receptive as well. So guys like that have just been like, hey, what can I do to help? And very open. And then I'm actually doing a prospect day on the 30th of September. And that's going to be huge for me because, like I said, I can't see every guy. So there's going to be guys who come out. Hopefully they fall in love. They like how I coach. They want to come to Lawrence. But I'm doing that with Marion's new head coach, Gabe Perlman. So we actually coached against each other last spring. He was the GA at Frostburg State when I was at Davis and Elkins. So pretty funny now that we're right down the road from each other. We're going to try to scheme up like a fun event, a fun game next spring when we're both active. But yeah, it's been pretty good so far. I think I need to get to know a lot more guys. But it's been really fun. And then the club guys have been awesome too. So all the club guys in the area have been receptive of like getting on the phone and having me introduce myself. And it's been a good little introduction. Hopefully getting some Team 36 guys. I know PMAC and I talked a little bit about some guys that have been on campus. Hopefully they make their decision soon. I'd love to see some of them.
Love that. And then I kind of switching gears a little bit. I know we're getting towards the end, but like, what is your coaching philosophy, or like, what are you bringing from? You coached obviously at Canisius, a Division I program. Like, what is important for you to bring from a D1 program to a newer D3 school? But also, like, maybe there's some stuff that you're thinking, and I don't mean for this to sound like I'm like downplaying Lawrence, but like D1 Canisius is up here and maybe not quite ready for this at Lawrence yet, or like what's your mentality coming from a Division I program experience there to a new Division III program?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that like even we did with Coach Amplo is everything is literally fundamentals. So none of it's like these crazy complex ideas. And I honestly think sometimes that's where some guys get in trouble is like they think because they're Division III, Division II, they need to have some crazy idea that's going to take them over the top. And I'm a big believer like, hey, it's fundamentals. Like when we teach you how to approach with your stick out, your chin up, your chest down, like we're teaching that to fifth graders, but we're continuing the fundamentals. And I think that's a really big thing. Like we might get more raw athletes. We might get more guys with raw stick skills. So we need to really fine tune the fundamental approach to it. And then for me, it's like, hey, film is going to be our biggest weapon. Everything's going to be filmed, and we're going to teach you guys on the field like it's a Division I lacrosse experience or environment. So like we're going to watch film, we're going to break it down. You're going to graduate knowing how to break down film. Like that's my biggest goal. Like I don't want to have to. I want to watch film every day with you, but I want to be able to say, well, you're watching film on your own, and like I know you're actually knowing what you're seeing. You're not just seeing a goal. And getting them to read the game, feel the game, where I don't have to structure every single movement. That's like what I really want to take from them. And I think the other thing the D1 model kind of gave me was how dialed in your practice plans can be, but also not even that. Like the biggest guy that's been a big help is Steve Colfer from Cabrini, who just folded. Like he's a Division I, like he's one of the best coaches in the game, at any level, just like Coach Berkman. And what he gave me advice was like he's got D1 guys throughout his 20 years there, is you don't have to do more because you think your guys are not as good and you need to get them as good as you can. Sometimes doing less, but doing it as fast as like as intense as possible is actually going to get them better. So having 75 to 90-minute practices, and it being quick and efficient is something that I'm going to really take as well. And just getting them dialed in that way. So those are some of the things, and holding them to that standard. Like, yes, you want to do all these other things. You're not a D1 guy. We don't have you for 20 hours or, we don't own your life. You're not just a lacrosse player, but showing that, hey, you care. So when you do it, you're going to do it with all your, you're all in.
Well, we like to end every episode with a question. I don't know if you've listened before, but we ask, what's your alley? This could be something you're passionate about today, this week, this month, this year. Maybe it's a lifelong thing. This can be lacrosse. This can be not lacrosse. Serious, not serious. So yeah, what's your alley?
Honestly, my alley being in Wisconsin has just been, I've been super passionate about Wawas now, just because I miss them every day. There's Quick Trip out here. There's no Wawa. There's no hoagie. There's no pretzels, tomato pies. All the Philly stuff. That's like, I've told every single person, like, hey, you guys don't understand. There's no Italians out here. What's going on? So that's been my biggest alley recently. It's just like we finally went somewhere tonight and the pizza was good, and I was like, all right, we're getting there a little bit.
We're getting
So
somewhere.
it's been the Philly foods. That's been my passion since I've been missing it.
As a former East Coast guy, I have fully made the switch over to Quick Trip as my like go-to gas station. Like it's pretty legit. So I mean, it's not the same. Don't get me wrong, but Midwest, you got some greasy, cozy food out here. So you're gonna be
Yeah.
comfortable. At least maybe not quite, but like you'll be warm and cozy. That's for sure.
Yeah, you can always find the cheese curds. That's always
Exactly.
the go-to. Yeah.
The
Yeah, the
tater
Quick
tot
Trips
hot
out here.
dish really threw me off when I first moved up here, but I learned to love it. So I got it. Are you an Eagles fan?
Big Birds fan.
Oh
Every
God.
kid on Sunday knew about that. I said,
Uh,
"Hey, go Birds!" And then I had to hear, "Oh, they only beat the Vikings."
well, we'll see what
So
happens when I'm a Commanders fan, so we'll see what happens
okay,
here in 2 weeks. I mean, we're all tied for the top of the division right now. I think Sam Howell's gonna put the hurt on Josh Allen this week, and we're coming into that game going 3-0.
we'll see. I mean, I don't know if I trust anyone yet. Everyone kind of falls apart at the end. The Birds have been staying steady.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I'm just
Yeah, I'm gonna,
yeah.
I'm gonna, yeah, I'm gonna be that annoying Eagles fan up in the Green Bay area.
I mean,
Green.
you're all annoying. So I mean, you're not being that annoying Eagles fan.
Being normal.
Yeah, exactly.
I know the Minnesota people, they hate the Birds. We have some coaches that are from Minnesota that the first time they saw me, they were like, "Go Birds." I was like, "No, we're not all like that, I promise."
I don't know. Minnesota's got no room to talk when it comes to the Eagles Vikings rivalry, we'll call it. But
It's been ugly. Coach, thanks for coming down the alley, introducing us to Lawrence University. Hope to see you at field in Minnesota soon. Sounds like you'll be here at the latest next year. But good luck launching your program, recruiting, and we hope to see you soon.
And
Yeah, thank you guys.
just to shout it out one more time, Prospect Day, September 30th, coming up here in a couple weeks. Right? Correct.
Yep.
And where should they go to find you if a player wants to attend that?
Yeah, so our prospect day, and I think a really cool thing too, real quick, is 25s, 26s. If you think you're a Division I guy and you really want to get seen in front of Marquette, they'll be at our prospect day. So Marquette, Marion, and the Lawrence staff will be there. LawrenceMlaxCamps.com. That's where you'll find it. So guys will get film, player eval, t-shirt, lunch, campus tour, penny, walk away with the penny, all that stuff. So
Great.
yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for coming down the alley with us.
Yeah, thank you guys. Have a good night.
You
too. And thank you to Mikey Zadroga. Is that right?
Yeah.
Thank you. Not a big deal. For coming down the alley, introducing us to Lawrence University. It sounds like another good option for players in the Midwest. If you want to stay close to home, if you want that small class size, feel, high academic situation, could be a good option for you.
Yeah, it sounds like facilities wise and just investment in athletics, it seems like they've got some nice stuff going. I know we used to be really big on like Lindenwood because like it was Division I facilities, and they're a Division I program now, but
yeah,
when they were Division II, they were already set up as like a D1 kind of feel. And I'm not saying Lawrence is the same, but it seems like they're building new locker rooms. They got a stadium, they got a practice field. Like things are setting up nicely. And it sounds like the academics are really strong too. So you're right. I think could be a really great option for Midwest kids. Coach seems fired up. Seems like a guy that's ready to get on the field and excited to be there. And I mean, what else can you ask for, right? I mean, obviously, I assume he's competent in lacrosse. He's played Division 1. He's coached a bunch of different levels. But just being pumped to be there and build the program. I mean, I think that's exciting.
Yeah, no, that's half the battle. JP, where were you? Italy, Aruba,
Yeah,
Brazil?
man.
Where have you been, dude?
I've been MIA off getting married. Yeah, I got married a couple weeks ago, almost a month ago now, which is wild. Been off in Italy. Yeah, ate a bunch of food, drank a decent amount of wine. It was great. I mean, the Italian Americans versus Italians are I think a little different. I feel like Italian Americans, you get welcomed with open arms. Grandma's gonna come kiss you on the cheek like you're her very own. Out there, man, they don't like us. I think they don't like each other. Great, beautiful country. Got a little verbal altercations with some older Italian gentlemen because I don't know the language very well. But that's on me. I'm not going to stand here and act like they were the ones at fault there. But aside from that, Italy was great. Food was great. You know, Italian food, I think, is generally looked on as a pasta, tomato based cuisine. They got steaks and some meats there that are just blowing the US out of the water. I mean, a Florentine steak, I ate an entire, I don't even know how big it was. They're on the metric system. No one knows what that is. But I ate this ginormous steak in one sitting, no sides, no nothing, just Florentine steak right to the gut. Absolutely amazing. But yeah, it was a good time. So, yeah.
Did you have an affogato?
I did not. I had a lot of cappuccinos, but no affogatos. I actually was scrolling through my Instagram last night and saw an affogato video, and I was like, that was the one thing we did not have. We had a cannoli, we had gelato almost every day. I got to make our own tiramisu while we were there, which shockingly, it's actually pretty easy if you buy the little lady fingers already made. But yeah,
So
no affogatos.
if you buy it pre-made, it's easy to make. Is that what you just said?
I mean,
yeah.
Am I wrong? Am I wrong? I mean, come on.
So did you have pizza? Dave Portnoy kind of crapped on their pizza. How's their pizza?
We had pizza one night when we were in Como. We went to the Formula One race, which was sick. Got home super late from that though, like traveled halfway down the country to get there. So we just did this like little roadside pizza place. No idea what it was called. None of the workers there spoke any English. So I was walking in with high hopes and expectations. There's also like a big ferry system in Como, and all the ferry guys were there. Best pizza I had there for sure. I had it a couple times there. I don't know if I'd say it was the best pizza I've ever had. I mean, I've been cooking up my own pizzas lately. In a pizza oven I got for the wedding. Mine are pretty solid, not gonna lie. But yeah, no, their pizzas they're good. They know how to make a piece of dough with some sauce and cheese on it. It's not that hard. But it's good to be back on the podcast. I got PMAC cracking up already. I hope the listeners are laughing, but I don't know if he's laughing at me or.
No,
Yeah, watch YouTube. Watch the YouTube because I didn't want to interrupt, so I mute myself. I apparently you got funny with marriage. You weren't really funny before, so
no. Oh God, no.
Yeah, no. That's congrats. You're funny now.
You should tell my wife I'm funny, but she'll get there one day. Any lacrosse news? Anything happening? It's fall. We're kind of in the off season, but PLL championships next weekend.
Yeah, my buddy Charlie Hayes, Water Dogs, trying to go back to back.
Could be sick. I think they're going to do it.
They better.
We'll see. I bought an Archers hat at the beginning of the year, so I feel like I have to be an Archers fan.
So you're an Archers fan. Yeah, you're an Archers fan.
Yeah,
I'm a Charlie Hayes fan. So
Sure.
wherever he's playing until they make a Minnesota team, I'm a Charlie's Hayes fan, so that makes me a Water Dogs fan currently.
Well, they might be the guys. The Water Dogs sounds like
Hey, if we get a Minnesota team, I'll buy some apparel. Why not?
Sweet. I saw there's some fall ball starting up. Only have the women's schedule on here, so sorry, fellas, but looks like Maryland and Cornell have scrimmage dates this weekend. I don't know if they're streaming them, but scour the internet if you're trying to watch some lacrosse in the off season. YouTube's always got great games. That's what I do in my spare time while I'm working or quote unquote working.
If I had to guess, these are not going to be streamed, right? Yeah, no.
I would doubt it. But
Yeah.
sometimes it, like Hopkins sometimes does it. But who
They
knows?
should. That'd be kind of cool
Yeah.
for the nerds like us.
Right.
I mean, they televise spring games for Division I football. I get it. It's football, but like that's like the equivalent of fall ball to lacrosse. Just like, hey, see what the team looks like. You would think that some of the bigger name programs might not get an ESPN time slot, but could live stream it for the 100 people that really care about what's coming out, you know. Hey, and if you're a Division I college operations person, media coach, and you actually listen to this podcast, be the first team to stream the fall ball games. You might get some interest.
Yeah. Football games, they're just playing the same team. These are like practically actual games. So, you know, I'm sure you'd get some audiences, but
DTA Fall Classic coming up. That will be good to get out and get some get some games in before end of October tournament comes around. So that we're locked for that. JP will be out there doing some media for that. So we're excited to kind of get back into the game here a little bit. And then working on DTA Coaches Summit. It's coming. Some details need to be locked down, but if you're if you came last year, we'd love to have you back. If you missed out, I know things were kind of quick turnaround last year. We're gonna try to be get a save the date out there for you, and so you can kind of get it on your calendar, and we can prep a little bit for that. So hopefully in the next couple episodes, we'll have some sort of information on that.
Yeah, that's the plan. We have a couple interesting conversations coming up, so we can't put anything out there yet. But yeah, I hope to have, for my sake too, for my calendar, I hope to have for a date locked in. And then we could start locking in speakers and all that stuff. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to some of the planning that still needs to be done. But I think we have some good ideas. Hopefully we can implement all of them. That'd be great, because I have great ideas. All of my ideas are great.
There you
Everyone,
go.
never missed. Any updates on podcast related things? Anything in the next couple weeks we should tell the listeners about?
I've got another. I've been killing. But we have been killing the guest game, I would say. It's been a good group effort, and we got another good guest. I'm not going to mention who. They're a big fan. They're vocal. They're part of
controversial. Would you say they're a controversial personality?
Not the most controversial personality, but they stir the pot for sure.
Pot stir.
They're a pot stir.
Stir, yeah.
They're a pot stir.
That'll be interesting. That'll be interesting.
I would expect next week's podcast to they're gonna have a controversial take on something. And they're gonna stir the pot about something. I hope it's not their typical take. I hope it for my sake, I hope it's a fresh take and a new take. That's what I'm hoping. That's what I'm asking for. That's what I'll ask. They've had questionable takes in the past. I'm hoping for a new take. Going into the new season. New season, give me a new take.
There you go.
And if anybody's got, guests they'd like us to have on or personally would like to be on, we'll do some vetting of that. We're not just going to have any Joe Schmo come onto the podcast. It's an exclusive club. But yeah, some interview recommendations are always welcome. But yeah.
Yeah, no, it's been good. We've had good guests. I'm looking forward to, that February time when we can start talking about the sections. That's going to be a good breakdown because I've thought about, different ideas. I think going back to the sections for this year is the right move. Because there's things moving. There's things moving around. So I think that'll be good conversation. But we've got plenty of time. We got plenty of time before that, and hopefully a lot of guests. And good conversation. So I don't know.
I got one last thing before we end. Speaking of sections and notes and preseason,
Are we diving in?
No. The source texted me today. Mrs. PMAC source.
The source didn't text me.
Texted me today and said they were going through their notes from last year's preseason.
Okay.
And this is what they wrote. They put Benilde St. Margaret's girls #1 in their preseason state rankings. So they were preseason #1, which I must have missed that, or we missed. Again,
we missed that.
Nobody was talking about them. So #1 in the preseason with the following blurb. All 3 Vang sisters are in high school and going to BSM, including the 2023 D1 commit Federa. So if the MSHSL allows them to play, they are added to an already stout squad with Julia Evans, Maggie Graycheck, Izzy Garvin, and goalkeeper Brooke Nelson. 24, Maddie Kalstis is coming off an ACL tear, so that slows them down a little. Preseason #1 ended postseason #1.
So you're saying our sources know what they're talking about?
That's a golf clap. That's a golf clap.
That's what it looks like. So very interesting. And they kind of followed that up with said, you mentioned on the pod that nobody was talking about them. And then they said, I was ... but only to myself. So that was in the source's notes
that he or she or they or
it
didn't give us. We didn't have that.
It was maybe written down in a larger document, and maybe we got snippets of it, or we got the information.
I bet it was my fault. I bet I'm going to raise my hand. And say it was probably my fault.
So I think we got the information based on the section. So when Section 5 rolled around, we got ESM. We didn't really rank teams in the state preseason. We didn't say like they're going to be the #1 team. We kind of just, they're the best team in the section, could be a state contender, whatever, which I think, we did say that about Benilde. But long story short, that was a funny text to get of, someone who maybe thought they were going to be really good and kind of did call it or was talking about them, when I felt like, on our last episode, I was like, nobody was talking about them, or they were just flying under the radar. And
at the end of the regular season, though, they were the 5th seed going into state.
Yeah. No, I think it was, and the coaching staff talked about that a little bit, about injuries. They didn't really have their full squad until late in the year, and then made their run. So, but I thought that was an interesting text about Benilde, and there's a lot of people out there that are really diving into high school across in Minnesota. So it's cool to see, so many people. It's not a large community, but the people who are in it are super invested in it.
Yeah. All in. Congrats, JP. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Happy to have you a part of the pod. Good to be back. And we'll be back next week with another guest, another interview, maybe a couple hot takes. I don't know. We'll see how this next week goes, and we'll be back. We'll be back right here.